Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley, Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt, Bing Matt, James Steele Jr.,
Una.
Martin Charlo, Len Tootie, Lanice Trahan. Jennifer, Danny, and Martin are all at the medicine tree.
Thank you, Jennifer. Len, will you give us a prayer? Oh, I caught you with your mouth full.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have minutes from October 7th.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, James.
make a motion to approve the October 7th, 2025 minutes with corrections.
Motion by James. Second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous, right, Len? We're unanimous. We have an agenda for today. Any additions to the agenda? No walk-ins? Okay. Anything for the agenda, folks? Good, it'll be a quick meeting. Oh, thank you. Tom and James. Okay. There's always something. I'd entertain a motion for the agenda. Motion by Tom to approve the agenda with additions. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? We're unanimous. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to, I guess, get concurrence from y'all for AT&I. There are a couple of positions open for election. And we threw Martin's name in. And last year, there was some our vice president positions open. And so I'd like to do that same thing again this year, or at least this next meeting next week is
Nominate Martin.
yeah.
Nominated for what?
It's one of there's like 3 positions under the chair. It'll be under Forsman. It'd be one of the lower ones.
An ATNI sub-position.
Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians, they have, I think there's 3. I'd have to look at the agenda.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know what's up, but there's
Yeah.
like first vice president and.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was first for a little while at one point.
What we were trying to do is bring more of our issues forward from up here in the Upper Columbia tribes, because we're always kind of like all those little tiny tribes out there along the coast, and towards the southern western end of the Columbia tend to dominate the topics.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, we do try to get more representation there. I know in the past when I first got on council and I was attending those ATNIs, it just seems like those West Coast tribes are more focused on their gaming issues rather than what was going on in Montana. And so there was really nothing that I seen that we got out of it, but I'm glad to see that you're advocating that they start to look at us as one of the Upper Columbia River tribes that run the water, right?
The last, when before the election, and I was, touting all the harms of Project 2025 that would come forward, and of course over half of them have come true now. I was appealing to the floor of AT&I conference. You guys need to help us out. We need to make sure that our 1 Senate seat stays as a Democrat, because it's such a small edge. Even though you guys are solid here in Washington and Oregon, I said, but it's going to affect you. The race in Montana is going to affect the outcome of what happens and whether they implement all of Project 2025. And we need your support. We need your financial support. We need you to help with this campaign. And I made that strong urge at the opening remarks, and try to get their support and pledges to help Senator Tester's campaign. But anyway, I don't know what they did. They donated or not.
Go ahead, James.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I know some had donated. I do know that. My perspective on ATNIs, I agree with Len and your all's comments. When I was participating, I just muscled my way into it. I just got up and said my piece, and I think that's what we need to think of our role there. It's just we force our issue into the discussion, and because they certainly don't have any problem getting up and talking about their issues. I'm like, okay, well, we appreciate the salmon issues, but we have our issues as well. I'm going to bring them up. And so we just have to do that. So.
Carol, you wanted to say something? Okay. No objection then to nominating Martin. We're cool there. James, you got a quick issue.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up to council that if you ever go to Tribal Health, you'll see the new picnic tables and such out there. That's part of the community funds that we worked with the city of St. Ignatius, and tried to think of things that would be benefit to the whole community. And the tables that were there, I think, were from way back when. Pretty sad. So they've got the little covered areas for like 3 tables. So now they're going to get the picnic tables. They went through the basketball court there and made sure all the backboards were fixed, and they now have chain baskets. I'm don't know what you call that. I'm not a basketball player. And then we've had the deferred maintenance done on the skate park. I think it was Whitney Williams and them came through last year and they came through and did that. So there's some little bit of progress there. Also, I think it's been really good to have the fences in the home sites, particularly those families that have dogs. You know, I know one family we had that was having issues with a particular dog and now they're okay with it's in that fence chart. So anyway, thank you.
James, who did all the work?
They had Amish do the work because they couldn't get anyone else. So ultimately, well, the ones that they could get they would have taken up their whole fund. So, but they actually had a couple of Amish workers that did the work. Looks pretty good too.
Oh, don't run over him then. Morning, Greg. Thanks for coming in early.
Good morning, sir. Morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of council.
I think we're ready for you.
Thank you. So I have a handful of issues here and I'll work through them thoroughly with you. The first issue is the fiscal year 2026 water compact allocation letter. This is the 6th distribution of the mandatory distribution from water compact. The letter and accompanying resolution are identifying the original resolution 21-046, in which case the tribes will elect on an annual basis how to receive and how to distribute that $90 million. And so in the past, the tribes have elected to split those dollars in a 50-50 relationship, 50% in water compact activities and 50% into the implementation trust. The recommendation here in this resolution and letter is the same, keeping in mind that money can be moved in the future from the implementation side to the compact side, but not in the other direction. So having a straddled view is what I've recommended, and that's what's in this resolution and letter. The letter goes to Sarah LaFleur, who's the acting director, and this is intended to be in their hands so that as the federal government perhaps opens back up, that there is no delay in the tribes getting that mandatory distribution.
Questions about the letter or the resolution? Motion by Carol to approve the resolution and letter. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous.
The second item on the agenda is there's an agreement between the state and the tribes for a upcoming distribution of water compact settlement dollars that we're titling the State Water Compact Distribution. It's scheduled to be distributed in the amount of $13 million to the tribes on or around December 15th. And so this resolution request or motion request is for the establishment of the new tribes in order to meet the terms of the agreement. The resolution indicates the creation of new accounts, both at Eagle Bank and Charles Schwab, with 4 signers as we have in our other financial accounts to be ready to accept that funding.
Motion by Carol to accept the fund and the account.
Just a comment. I'd be curious to know how much interest that this fund acquired while the state had it in it. Because that was an issue that we brought up. And it'd be good to know just how much we lost.
Is that a second? Second by Len to approve the fund and the account. All in favor? We're unanimous. That would be interesting to know how much interest was earned on that.
Did you just say interesting to know how much interest? I like that. I'll make sure to find that out. I'll check in with the attorneys and with and find out the answer to that. Absolutely.
Carol.
Invested in Charles Schwab, what are we making on? What's the interest rate?
The current interest rate environment on the bonds that we hold at Schwab is going to be north of about 3.5% to 4.5%. The next issue is the formal adoption of a new org chart for my finance group. I think I brought this up in the executive discussion a couple of months ago. This is the current organizational chart. It will remain similar across the top with budget, payroll, central accounting, contracts and grants, and our controller's office. And then as I show you the new one, what is missing right in the old one is this organizational hierarchy of accountants or accounting techs. And this simply makes there be a hierarchy between a tax assistant, a tech, a specialist, and then a lead specialist. So this part of the organization chart is just being refined a little bit. I'll show you the existing. You see there's a disconnect between the pair up here and the 3 down here. The change in the org chart simply adds a spot and makes this more linear. And then it adds someone underneath the contracts and grants group. I'll show you that again here. It adds a contracts and grant tech A and B in order for those positions to be supportive of both contracts and grants, and then to train into positions as the existing staff matriculates into a different area, they can be trained and move up. Everything else on the left-hand side stays the same. Accounts payable and accounts receivable manager stays with a stack of 5, general, a ledger manager, cash flow office, but this creates a hierarchical way for someone to join the group and grow into a bigger position as they gain more knowledge and experience.
Go ahead, Carol.
Let's say tribal health, for instance. If you were to take over, first of all, maybe that's just the question. Is that something that our accounting office can do, or is our accounting office more the massive accounting for the whole organization? Do you ever think about taking over a smaller entity like a DHRD or maybe tribal health and bring that in under your veil rather than leave it out there? Or does that require an independent accounting system? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Your question makes sense to me, and I'll tell you what's in my head. Each and every department has a financial obligation to be met. That should show on Tribal Health's org chart. That should show on DHRD's org chart. It shows on NRD's org chart and Water Compact. Every org chart has a financial discipline within their organization that's responsible for the financial accounting of their activities. There is not a dotted line of responsibility between those dispersed financial units and the central accounting team. They're doing similar work, but it's far more program specific. If you've got somebody accounting specifically for the 477 plan, or somebody specifically accounting for the purchased and referred care activities or the third-party collections, that's decentralized into the programs and the departments themselves. We review and help supervise all of that. That's where we train them. But right now, they're not on my org chart in a direct reporting line. So I think to answer your question, it would take a little bit of planning and forethought to create either a dotted line or a straight line of responsibility from the financial accounting groups in each one of those departments. It would take some realignment in order to provide them with direct supervision by my team, but not out of the question. It would take us some time.
Okay, because I'm wondering the policies then that you adopt within your preview, do those entities have to follow those policies?
Yes, they do. The central accounting and policies and procedures are tribe-wide. We distribute them, we train on them, and they're required to follow them. And it's part of the audit requirement for them to be subject to that financial review. It's part of the monthly certification process for them to balance and reconcile their accounts. And to the extent that they're doing that is currently in the hands of the department head and the executive over them. And to the extent that they're being done is unknown to me, except for the ones that I know are not being done, which stand out like a sore thumb.
And the ones that aren't being done, because then they come in here and they have these, what do you call it? The
Journal entries, absolutely.
journal entries. So I almost think you have to have some kind of oversight or something because, I hear of irregularities, not illegal irregularities, but maybe everything that I kind of think, well, God, is that like, let's say, for instance, the chef thing. I mean, unless people know about that stuff, but I was aware of it. And I'm sure everybody is now, but it's like things like that should have been caught somehow. And I don't even know how that would have been caught, but I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I just think there has to be some kind of a line from our accounting back into the main accounting to make sure people are all following the rules. Because if we start getting awry and leaving those out there, we all know tribal credit, natural resources, a few others that have kind of had some things going on. Yeah, tribal court, go down the line.
I think what I hear you saying, and if if I've misinterpreted this, is I think you're planting the seeds of should we begin to think about that from an accounting standpoint and have that start building, plant the seed, let that germinate, and let's come back with maybe some ideas of how we might address that and leave that up to a discussion.
Never want to take a responsibility away from a department head. But I also feel that a department head doesn't know all the accounting rules and all of that stuff. And I just think, yeah, I think that's a good idea myself. I don't know what the rest of the council.
At least training. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, I think what I'm interested in, and I like the separation because I like redundant systems to prevent fraud and misuse and whatever, but the troubling thing, and Greg's brought these forward to us in the past, is exactly that, is that if we're missing, some program or department is missing generating revenue or not spending, they're leaving money on the table and it's getting taken back. It's like timeliness of reporting that to us so that we can try to fix that if Greg doesn't have the big stick. Let's just say he has the oversight and can identify it. But if he has no way to enforce, it relies on us to find out, and then we're the enforcers. We're the ones that make that department accountable to say, hey, you just lost this much money, or you didn't bill for that, or there's this going on. We have to have that knowledge in order to fix it. And so it's that timeliness of getting that to us is and finding out all that intimate detail that it could be a financial strife for us.
The director's responsible as well. In between there, the department head director. Carol, go ahead.
Maybe I need to say what I'm gonna say. Social services, I believe, is so shorthanded. But then I hear the accounting part of DHRD, building an empire. I don't believe that building an empire within an accounting system is the proper place for us to be placing staff. And I don't even know how accurate this is, but I'm just saying that I think if you have the opportunity to put more hooves on the ground to meet the needs of our children, you need to do that instead of building an accounting empire. And that's why I was thinking, maybe if there was more oversight, there wouldn't be so many employees in one entity, but maybe that's required because of all the grants and all the requirements that they have to meet. But I've just heard that, and so I just wanted to. I don't even know how true it is, but I think it's something that we need to look at. If we can put more people on the ground to deal with issues of our children and our families, that's what we need to do rather than hiring accounting techs or whatever.
What's meant by an accounting, what'd you call it? Empire? What is that? Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
I'd reflect on that by saying that in the 2024 audit, REDW did bring to your collective attention the shortfalls in the DHRD accounting process. They're not following the procedures. They're not processing TBCs on time. They're not doing reconciliations and certifications. They are the principal reason why we do monthly trainings, is to level set everyone so that we're talking about those trainings. They do have a large accounting staff in that area, and they remain a area of concern for me each and every year as we move forward into the audit cycle. They remain an area of concern as to whether or not they have turned in their monthly certifications, or whether or not they're going to close out the year on time and accurately, and whether or not the state of their paperwork will pass scrutiny. And that's an ongoing concern. And I'm concerned about that. And the financial empire, their org chart is pretty robust in that area. And my expectation is that they should be able to solve their financial woes with the number of people that they have there. Whether or not they're actually doing that remains to be seen.
And that falls to Michelle now, right?
Yes, sir. And we've had a lengthy conversation both about my opportunities to reach out to Corky when Ms. Corshane left, and to reach out to him again once the audit came back, giving him tips and clues about creating checklists in order to do that. And that was repeated again to Michelle about 2 or 3 weeks ago, just in an intimate conversation where I was highlighting my concerns.
So we need to wait a little bit and see what happens.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Greg, one of the, I should say, one of many issues that we always bring up with employees is succession planning. That we need to stay cognizant of it. I'm concerned about our comptroller, Bill Biarco. Do we have a tribal member working directly with him to take over those duties if needed? Are we currently training anybody?
We do not have a tribal member. We do not have a tribal member in position to take over those duties. If you look here at the org chart, Chanel Tigan is the assistant comptroller. We can ask her again, but she does not have a career path at this moment that I'm aware of that would put her on a CPA track. That's a requirement for that controller's position, but that would be the area that we would advertise and open up the door for a tribal member candidate to begin to step into that role.
Okay.
We can do that.
All right. Thank you.
Well, to get back on track, any questions about the organizational chart that's being suggested? It looks quite good to me. Giving those folks a chance to advance. Motion by Carol to accept the proposed organizational chart. Second by Tom. All in favor? We are unanimous.
The last issue is really related to our relationship with our external CPA, Linda Putney, as well as our REDW audit firm. You may recall in the audit presentation, I described to you that we're entering into the last year of our agreement with both Linda and with REDW. They'll complete the 2025 audit. And I didn't have council action at that time. And we'd like to have council action or notes on file allowing us to move forward with that. It helps in our paperwork. So the question here is, in June, when we presented the audit, we talked about our offsite CPA, Linda, as well as our REDW relationship. And I'm asking today for the approval of those engagements into the 2025 audit season so that we have the council action on file as we engage with those providers.
Go ahead, Len.
I vaguely recollect this, and I know one of the issues that we brought up is we have a local tribal member firm that is capable of doing this type of work. And I think we needed to reach out to them and making sure that we're looking at those resources before we start entering into these contracts. Because where is this company from? This firm, or Linda Putney?
Linda Putney has been our external advisor. She works out of Wyoming, and she has remote access to all of our documents. And she's been a partner for about 8 or 9 years. This will be the fifth year of a 5-year engagement.
Yeah, I think that's probably gone on too long, and we need to start looking at our tribal member firms that do this type of work. And it's one that comes to mind is Raven Consulting. Go ahead, I'm done.
Go ahead, Carol.
Done? Okay, I just think we're in the middle of an audit year, and it probably is wise to finish out. And then next year, immediately look at this other group.
We're in the process of creating an RFP so we are in the engagement for 2025, which is the request here. But our commitment is as we get through this year is to put out an RFP, a request for proposal that will include the name that you recommended here, Raven Consulting. And we will put that out both through the IPO list and to the reservation, and to make sure that we're putting that out RFP, request for proposal, to the general public for that work.
And you have to respond to the RFP. I mean, if they choose not to respond, then.
That's all part of the proposal process. Yes, ma'am.
But so if let's say, for instance, we didn't do this, are we we're in the middle, aren't we?
This would be incredibly disruptive to our completion of the CFA, which is managed by our contracts and grants manager, which is the evaluation of all of the federal grants and expenditures. Disrupting that process at this late hour would throw the audit into perhaps a disarray. But I can commit to you that we'll bring the RFP back to you in or around the first quarter, January, February, so that we can make a new decision in the April-May timeline well in advance of the end of the closeout.
Okay. That being said, we'll make the motion.
Motion by Carol to move forward with Linda Putney and with REDW to finish out the 5-year obligation.
Yes.
Second by Tom. All in favor? Jimmy? Yeah? James? We've got 6-4 and Len against.
I think with the craziness going back in DC, we don't want any mess ups with our audits.
The motion passes.
And just for the record, we have a tribal member firm that is capable of doing this kind of work and should be doing this work.
Will you share them with me, sir? Would you text them or make sure that I have them? I'll make sure that they're part of the recipient of the RFP. I'm glad to do that.
I think it's helpful for the membership to understand we're in the middle of a contract 5-year obligation, and we need to finish that out. And with the commitment that we will put out a new RFP for anybody that's interested, including tribal members.
James?
Yeah, my question is unrelated to the comments. Greg, we had, the SK Holding, and what are they called now? Business Services?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in, the other, last week. And, I kind of quizzed them about, do they have enough staff to kind of catch up on their audits? Are you any idea if they're going to be able to at least somewhat catch up on where they need to be in terms of their audits and such? I think I was assured that they would be able to, so I guess that's my concern, is trying to find out if, business services will be able to catch up on their audits for where they should be, I guess.
I remain hopeful that they will engage with an auditing firm, which they said at their presentation, they have not yet engaged with an auditing firm for their 2024 year-end audit. I remain hopeful that they will do that. And I'm happy to have a comments to the shareholder in executive, if you so choose, as to how I would be thinking about the milestones there. They should be making a decision on their 2024 numbers. It's already the October. It's 10 months after the close. They should have that wrap. They should at least have their engagement letter in place in order to accomplish that. Those would be my expectations.
Carol?
Do you know if we ever got a determination back on 477? Or do you know anything about that? Maybe that's a Teresa question.
My recollection over the past 12 or 18 months is that we did get, we had a person on site doing an evaluation of the 477 program. But my recollection is that that was a redundant exercise because they had already been under a review. I will find out and send an email around and let you know the status of that. But my understanding is A, that they were reviewed, B, that it was unnecessary because they were under a current period of eval. I'll find out when the next one comes and I'll be able to share that with you. Parenthetically, I think, Mr. Two Teeth, you would ask me if there was any carryover in that budget. And I think I sent an email around, and our indication is that the carryover there is between about $5 and $5.5 million from previous fiscal years that was carried over.
Any other questions for Greg? Len?
Greg, what is the status of trying to find funding for the water repair project that we were working on in Mission? Is that still on the radar?
It's absolutely on the radar. There are two similar instances where there's water in the basement or the crawl space area. Dire need is set up to accomplish those tasks, and that's under the purview of Michelle. And she and I have had an extensive conversation about that.
Okay.
We've come into the new fiscal year where there is a new budget of about exactly $97,000. And my guidance to her is that's the program set up to accomplish those emergent needs, as well as given guidance that within the entire member services array, there may be other funding that we are at the beginning of the fiscal year that can be used to help that member or those members.
Carol?
Anybody else read this, but I thought Jory turned away the contractor and decided to go with her own contractor. Did you read that? I read that somewhere. Yeah, I read that. I think they had a tribal member contractor and a non-member contractor, and I don't know if she went with the non-member because she knew him or what, but so I kind of figured she was going on her own to pay for it. I don't know.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Morning, Tab. Come on up, Tab. I got Tabitha next.
Good morning.
Morning, members of the council. My name is Tabitha Espinoza and I work for the restoration program in the Division of Engineering and Water Resources. And I'm here today to talk about a contract and request approval for a new contract. So some of the background on this, we've been working for a while with forestry on the Jocko blowdown, a couple of units there. Well, the whole area, I think forestry and lots of people have interest in trying to get that wood out of the forest. And so when we were first doing the Bison Range Reach project, we saw that that would be a good opportunity to use that wood, or at least some of it. So we worked with forestry over kind of a long period of time to be able to purchase that wood. Purchased that in May as a lump sum contract. And as part of that contract, NRD took on the responsibility to remove all the wood from the forest in those two designated units. So we wrote a RFP to bid out that as basically a subcontract to a tribal contractor. We had the RFP close late August and received one bid, which was from Three More Enterprises, which is a tier 1 Indian preference business. We've had some back and forth with him since then. And so the package that you see is the final package. So the services that we bid that they would be performing are to salvage and transport two different size classes of the blowdown trees that we need at the Bison Range Reach project. So it's much different than normal logging because we need kind of specific sizes, but we also need trees with the whole entire root wad attached. So the hauling is a little bit more challenging than normal logging because you can only fit a couple of those in and you need specific types of equipment to haul it safely down the highway. So like a side dump. So I think there was a little bit of a limited market that actually had side dumps. So I think that's partly why we only received one bid. And so that's part of it. And then the other part, the smaller size class, also is supposed to come with as much brush on as possible. So you can't just do your normal logging operations, essentially just like going around and grabbing trees and trying to keep as much of the roughness on the tree as possible and then hauling it to keep all that roughness on. So you can't get as much wood per load. So that's what they would be delivering to us. And then the contractor is also responsible. There's likely to be surplus wood in the forest in those two units that we purchased. It's also their responsibility to get rid of all the merchantable wood there, and they can do whatever they want with it. And then they also have to do the roads work as specified under the forestry contract, which is kind of standard practice. And I think that's kind of it for what their responsibilities are. And the only prior action was the approval that of the predetermined volume contract between NRD and Tribal Forestry to purchase the wood. So the action that I'm requesting of you guys is to approve the new contract 26003 with Three More Enterprises for the not to exceed amount of $685,020. So I can take whatever questions. I'm sure there's some questions.
Motion by Bing to approve the contract, second by Tom. Any questions for Tabby? All in favor? We got unanimous.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're getting off easy.
I know.
Hey, Diane. Sean.
Diane, we're listening. Morning, Corky.
Good morning. I am here to request a approval of a resolution for approving the submission of the 2026 to 2029 Title VI grant application for the administration of Community Living Administration on Aging for Older Adults. It's Title VI and it's Part A, B, and C, which consists of nutrition, supportive services, and caregiving.
Questions or motion? Motion by James to approve the request to go after this money. Second by Carol. Any questions? Go ahead.
The amount of the grant.
Was 148,000.
So this is the funding that pays the caregivers?
No, this grant, the caregiving grant, and that's the Part C. It assists like, the chore workers can get paid out of that. It's kind of like more in the caregiving week. The 4110 budget is for our caregivers, and it's a pretty huge budget, but this budget is, assist with possibly buying things for like the caregiving,
Okay.
things like that. And the Part A and B is more the nutrition portion of it. That's the big one. The 342,000 is the Part A and B.
Oh, okay. All right.
All in favor? We're unanimous.
I have another comment,
Go
or
ahead.
question. Earlier, we were talking about the firewood that the elders program purchases for, and I was wondering if you guys had an opportunity to look to see if we were able to increase the price that we pay for the firewood to the woodcutters.
We did. We upped the cords of wood to 325.
325? All
Mhm.
right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Good job.
Help.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question on the nutrition program. What does that buy? I mean, what do you do with the nutrition program?
Any kind of, the last one we bought a new oven, a commercial oven. So more in the commercial that we can get, anything that the centers need that we can, and we did call in regards to, I talked to the feds, but of course they're closed right now, so we can't talk to them. We were even talking about seeing if we could purchase food, like the bigs, like from Bar Greens and things, big quantities, and Cisco and things like that. But right now it's for, like if you needed a commercial oven, refrigerators, any kind of appliances.
Could you buy a walk-in freezer?
Mhm.
We're in need of freezer space for the food sovereignty and the bison program for Yellowstone bison. Does the Yellowstone bison meat get distributed through your program?
Nope, we buy ours through, and I think this last time we bought 50 bison from NRD.
Oh, you get the bison range bison. Okay. I guess either one works.
And so we're a little bit short. I think we have, how many freezers that we've got distributing through? I think we've got like 11 freezers, and we didn't think we were going to have enough, but we seem to always have to call people to try to get meat. This is the first year that we've not had to ask. We're not going to have to ask anybody. We're going to have enough bison to last us for the whole year.
The forecast for next year is another administrative call, almost similar size, if there's not any successful hunt program. And I'm anticipating that the winter will be a little bit different. We might have some good winter storms that might cause the bison to move and more opportunities for our hunters. But if not, there's going to be that same pressure point. And we exceeded our capacity this year with that quantity. Never had that much before. So if it's similar, I don't know what we do other than try to expand our capacity or have programs pick up more if they can. But storing it is a big issue.
It's huge. I think last year we ended up purchasing 2 more freezers. And we've got quite a bit of space in the Carpenter building to do that, but we got a lot of freezers. We've got quite a few freezers, but that's what we need for if we're going to try to purchase.
You need
we went
freezer space for like 50,000 pounds of meat.
Because last year, I think we distribute for like, what was it, 600, I think like 600 pounds of meat a year that we're distributing out. And it's getting more every year. It's 600 pounds per month, yeah. It's huge compared to what it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I think was like 290. Yeah.
Carol, go ahead.
You have that under security? I mean, what if those freezers shut off or something? I mean, that would be awesome.
They're over there every day.
Where is this located? Over here?
The Carpenter Building,
Martin Sharp.
Martin Charlotte's building. That's where we've got some, and then we've got some in our,
The shop next
You
to
know.
his house, or the house just right over here.
Charlotte.
It's across from Frank's Meats or D&D Meats. It's a big blue shop that's there.
I didn't
The
even know.
DHRD's rented it out for the last 15 years, I think, and so that's where they are storing other stuff from like when they bought this grocery store and they took all the freezer stuff out of it. I think some of it's still over there, and I know of another person that bought 2 freezers from Property and Supply last year. I don't know why they didn't, and he has them for sale right now, so I'm gonna talk to him about the freezers on those. But he bought them from Property Supply 2 years ago. And those were the walk-in freezers and coolers, so it has the walls and everything with them. But right now I know has them for sale.
There's 3 sets of walk-in freezer carcasses up at NRD at Fish Wildlife and Parks office, the division, that were salvaged out of Kicking Horse Job Corps when they replaced the walk-in freezers. Thought the shells would be good. Insulation doesn't change. It's just putting in the new compressors and all that costs. But there's 2 of them are actually put up and erected. They're just not operation. There's never been any money to do that.
What else? Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just really quickly want to recognize and commend the elders maintenance crew. Please let them know that their work is noticed, and they need to know that. So please let them know.
Thank you, Marky and Sean. Have a good day.
And enduring some cranky elders. Yeah, give them, yeah, they've got a fair share of.
We will take a 5-minute break and then Kelly. Go ahead, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Tribal Council. We're here with a few items in front of you. First, we have a journal entry request. Mary Rose and Louise maybe can speak to that and share the details on that. And then I've got a couple requests or want to share some information about the Logan Health Building request and the Anchorway property, kind of the planning process on that. So just FYI on that. I will ask for action on the Logan Health Building to show interest when I get there, but I want to show you kind of the work I've done to give you the information you need to make decisions around that.
Good morning, Chair and council members. So we are requesting approval for transfer for salary expenses from the program Reason to Live Native to the Tribal Health Department program. It appears that a staff member's salary had been erroneously expensed to a closed account. Typically, our payroll will go in and do splits for them. We didn't previously have a cutoff, like a real strong cutoff period, so an individual was able to go back in and it defaulted to the old BU, which was a closed account. So going forward, our plan is to have individuals, we have a close off of Tuesday by noon. And then if anything needs to be changed by payroll, or if they need to change it, they need to go to payroll to fix that. So we are requesting to have that salary, that 50% put back into the Tribal Health Department program bucket. And I think that was pretty much it. We do plan to have individuals do their own BUs in the near future. So we don't have the back and forth because our program managers are well aware of, they understand their grants a little bit better than we do. We don't see them every day. So that's just my request to see if we can move that 50% back. And I think the total was 1,493.88.
Questions? Motion by Carol to do the journal entry adjustment. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous. Thank you, Mary Rose.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mary Rose. I want to share some, while Louise is here. Louise keeps an eye on me and watches me checking in and out of the building, walking in and out of the building. And she always asks me when I'm going out, Joe, where are you going? And what do I tell you? None of your business. She's what? She's a parking lot watcher. Oh, yeah. Louise is the hallway monitor.
Do we need to give her a time clock to walk around with?
Should be an app for that. She can have you punch in and punch out. None your business. So I wanted to get a couple of things in front of you. We've been in here several times asking for council to support us in acquiring that Logan Health building across from the hospital. I haven't presented it well, so I've taken a run at creating a work plan to give you the information you need to make the decision. So I put it on a smart sheet. I think I've shared this smart sheet with you before, kind of the steps we'll go through to support a purchase. So I'll just kind of go through. So phase one, the first step would be kind of a property scan. You can see there, it says gather as much information about the property as you can. And then I've got a section for notes. How do I get rid of that? Okay. If you can see this. Okay. Yeah, I'll take out the timeline altogether. So there's a section for notes. So I've described kind of the property and attached what information I have. So with that, I'll have a Logan Health floor plan as an attachment. I guess the part I wanted to really talk about was the proposal. I think, Tom, you may have said this last time. We just weren't clear on what we intended to do with the property and how we might support it. So here is the proposal. This is a summary. The full proposal document is attached in this space. So I don't know if you want me to read it or not, but this supports the purchase and how we would use that property. Essentially, we're going to use it for behavioral health and the TCC division. We would move our social advocates, CHRs, maybe our transportation specialist to work out of that space at the Logan Health building. And then TCC would be able to help support part of that space because they're funded in a different way than the rest of us. So in their annual budget, we would include some facility support for that space out of their budget. That's the program that provides $75 per member per month for some outreach services and care coordination for the community members. So in part, we'll include some support of that facilities in that budget going forward. Behavioral health will also utilize that space. And that space, because we're providing direct care services out of there, we will take the next steps to add that to the M&I space, the allowable space through IHS. So that will change the square footage allocation for us. So we would receive some additional dollars, I believe, in the M&I funding because we've expanded the space. In this, I've also included the total allowable space. There there is some room between what we're allowed based on our population and what actual square footage we have in service now. Here we go. Anyway. Here's the proposal. There was an excerpt of this in that note section of the smart sheet. And in the proposal, I described the use. I said care coordination, TCC, and behavioral health utilizing that space. In the longer term, when we've gone through the process to remodel the Anchor Way property for tribal health, the space at that particular, the Logan Health space will transition to crisis intervention. So we'll be close to the hospital. If a patient shows up at the hospital in crisis, we'll have behavioral health staff available across the street. So the longer term plan is to transition that to crisis intervention, have staff available there. Behavioral health will operate our normal clinic operation out of the Anchor Way property. So that's a longer term. I've identified the potential funding sources. The purchase of the building can be supported by THIP funds, THIP funds or third-party reimbursements. Operations can be supported by the THIP budget and M&I allocation from IHS. And then I've included a description of kind of how behavioral health would use the space. Anyway. So a couple goals here. One, ask for, and maybe working through the process. So once you show approval, interest, I guess that's how to use it. The council shows interest, and there's some other steps we need to take, and this will be back for you a couple times. Show interest, we will start the getting an appraisal process, the building inspection, and then when we get the appraisal, we'll come back and ask for a negotiating range. So you're aware of what we might end up paying for the property. And once we kind of work through those requirements, we'll be back asking for a resolution to purchase the property. So there's a couple more opportunities for council to participate in kind of the scoping of this particular project. But at this point, for us to order an appraisal or update the appraisal, because they provided an appraisal when we first got it, order appraisal, start the buy-sell process, get a building inspection. We would like council to express interest in purchase of the property. Again, we'll be back a couple more times at least as we work through the steps to finally get council approval for a purchase.
What? Good, James.
Yeah, is that like a couple city lots there? I know I've driven through it and I'm kind of looking at the map of it. It almost looks like maybe a few city lots, maybe.
I have that in here, James. I just got to find out where it's at.
Pretty good size property.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to figure.
Yeah, I don't know that exactly. It's in here.
Yeah, I know I had driven through there and kind of looked at it and walked around and checked it out a number of months ago. I'm just curious how much is available there.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, once again, Joe, where's the funding come to purchase the building from?
THIP, we've had a significant carryover in THIP funds. Again, we receive $75 per member per month for the THIP program, the care coordination program. So we've got, I'm going to say, a couple $1 million carryover from this fiscal year. we've had carryover from previous fiscal years also. So there's a balance, I guess, in THIP related funding that's available, and or third party funds.
So the ARPA money related stuff is that's all gone.
I'm sorry, the what?
Any special ARPA?
ARPA. But the ARPA budget that had building acquisition, building remodels has been fully expended.
Okay. I would like to have the chance to read all this before I take action on it, but I'm fully supportive of acquiring real estate, and I know Len said that, and we certainly support that, especially if we have money for it. I didn't want to say this when the hospital folks were here the other day, but that facility is on the list of one of the hospitals that could close in this country, and gives you the kind of the state of where we're at with healthcare with this Republican administration. So yeah, I just worry about, you know, how we would sustain it if it's going to be a health facility. Certainly worth a go. I'd still like to see what we're doing with the Anchor Way and how it all fits together, because I think that's important. But just I'd like to have a chance to read it all before I take action.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Good.
yeah, we're out of space. I think we've shared that with you before. It's just hard. I think I've included in that summary about how hard it is to manage provider time in the building space we have. But certainly, Tom, part of the goal was to give you the information to read through to make make a decision. But we're cramped for space. It's a struggle every day, finding space for bringing behavioral health staff on rather than coordinating. Anyway, it's a recurring message. We're just tight for space. I don't have space. But again, the goal was to give you good information so you can make a decision. That's why we.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just trying to figure out how what's your plans for all this space in Anchor Way, because it's a rather large building and we already have that bird in our hand.
Yep. So I'll move out of this one. Darn it. So I'll talk about it while I'm pumping. So we are, as you know, we got approval to begin the discovery process for that Anchor Way building. That means the A&E firm will come in and do a scan of the building and tell us kind of what's there now, what the infrastructure is, what the construction is, so we can make plans moving forward. You've authorized to do that. Once that's done, then we'll go into the design phase. So that's building the blueprints essentially, the A&E kind of around that. So the discovery process is 2 or 3 months at best. That's the information I received from Jacola. It's going to take up to 3 months to complete that discovery process. The A&E process can take 4 to 6 months. Building the blueprints for that, so we can take it out to bid. So 6 months plus the 3 months, we're 9 months out before we start construction. Construction is going to be probably 8 to 9 months at best. So we're probably 15 months out before we have access to that building for that. And again, I'm crunched for space now. It's just hard to facilitate the patient care now in the space we have, while we know that we're probably 15 to 18 months out before we can move into that Anchor Way property. There were a number of suggestions about the design of that Anchor Way property. Again, that's a collaborative process. When that process starts, we'll bring them in and get your input on how we want to utilize that building. Tribal health, that again, behavioral health will occupy that space, and the clinic care, or I'll call it the 8 to 6 care, will happen there. Crisis care will take place over at the Logan Health building, or the intensive outpatient will be operated out of the Anchor Way property. There was some suggestion about creating some fitness center space in Polson. So that'll be part of the discovery process and the A&E process as they build plans around that particular space.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I kind of sat down with Joe a number of months ago, and I'm comfortable with where we're at on this, and I want to see us move forward with it. But respect to Tom's request for a little more review, I will plan on making a motion to show interest on Tuesday. And I also want to say that, you know, when we got into Anchor Way, I think it was absolutely inappropriate for the process to just assume that it was all tribal health situation. It wasn't. And I don't think tribal health was consulted with during that process, but it happened. And I think it's unfair for tribal health to be blamed with that process that happened. But I do think that they're trying to move forward with a plan to do something with it. But I think that whole process happened really quick. I don't think it was very collaborative. The person that put that all together isn't here. And I was a little bit miffed at that person because I've been trying to work on a little tiny property in St. Ignatius, old dental clinic that would help people with addiction and substance use disorder. And that's taken months and months and months. And that person was able to turn Anchor Way over in a short amount of time, and now is gone. And so wasn't available when I was trying to get help on the property and Mission. Avoided me, avoided my calls, avoided everything. But I think it's a valuable property, and I would like to see us buy every piece we possibly can. I'd rather have us own it than not own it. I'll use my mom's analogy. I'd rather have the bears eat the apples in the tree than the Amish. So she was not happy with them. For my grandpa Fred said, yeah, you can pick apples and cherries, but you owe me a pie. And they never brought him a pie. So my mom held that against the whole clan for years. But I will be making a motion to show interest on Tuesday, but out of deference to the vice chair to review the documents, I'll withhold that today.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, James, for that consideration. I'm very interested in this parcel. I mean, I went to the field trip on this parcel, Logan Health. I mean, I am deeply interested in this piece of ground in that building. I'm just wanting to make sure that we can sustain whatever operation we might put in it, or we use it for something else. If the strings aren't attached, that we could use it for something else, like Anchor Way strings were attached. There's no strings attached to this funding.
It's third-party money, so has
It's
to
all
be
third-party money. They said part of it.
third-party or THIP, TCC. So third-party money needs to be used to provide for provision of healthcare services. I think that's the broad definition. I don't have. So third-party fits because we'll continue to provide healthcare services out of there. THIP money, how do I say it? We've met the requirements for the THIP distribution. We've made contact or maintained contact with, can't remember if it's 10% of the Medicaid population. So we've met the requirements, so they've advanced the money. What is it? It's CSKT green now. I think there's some general requirements about providing healthcare too, because I think that's the link to the Indian Reorganization Act and the language around us is, provision of healthcare. That generally ties to the same purposes as the compact money. So,
In other words, the audit would look at what's already happened.
I just want to show my appreciation, Joe, for you putting something together, putting a plan together. I just haven't seen it until this moment.
yeah.
Because it wasn't in our packet. But one thing I appreciate about Joe is that he's his diligence is there. He moves thoughtfully. Sometimes he's a little slower than I would be. He's even more diligent than me. I think I've made that comment before. So, when Joe says it's a strong recommendation from him, it's a pretty good recommendation. I want to make sure people know that. But the uncertainty that I have with healthcare in America and Medicaid and needing to use third-party revenue for something else that might need bridge funding is of concern for me. So, because we have the most flexibility to move that money around. Yeah, by the hospital. Say Joe's is going to be for sale. Sorry, that's a bad joke.
I'll follow that. So not that I'm advocating we get spendy, because I am cheap. I try to be careful about how we spend that money. But we've got a significant reserve built up. So if we need to make changes, I think we've got a runway to do that. And we continue to think about ways to provide services that are billable. So that's always on our mind. Every time you ask us to explore another service, is there a way to create a billable service out of that? Not all of them are. So there are some projects that are not creating additional revenue. They're not covering the cost of the service, but important to our community and important to you. So that's what we do. So I get it. I worry about resources all the time. I guess that what I'm trying to balance is we have made a contribution to the reserve balance. I'm going to say since about 2014. So we've brought in more than we've spent on third-party expenditures. So each year, I'll throw a number out. I don't know if it's the right number. We've added a couple $1 million to that reserve balance over that period of time. I don't know if it's best to create a reserve. In theory, you would have a target reserve balance you'd want to work towards. I don't think we've gone through that exercise to figure out, what's a good reserve balance for us to operate on. But how much do we contribute toward a reserve, and how much do we spend on providing health care to our community? I don't know that. I don't know that we want to continue contributing to a reserve balance when there's money available to provide additional health care services. And I don't know what that balance is, if I'm explaining myself right, but
the needs of services prior to the needs of a reserve, although the reserve is necessary.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I'll say, and I don't know. This is just a pitch for more money. I don't know. I don't know what's happening to the interest of that reserve balance. I would guess it's a significant interest income given the rate of interest now and the reserve balance. Anyway, wouldn't hurt to throw a little more money my way, but
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here next week, James, so you can feel free to make the motion today if you'd like.
I make a motion to show interest in purchasing the Logan Health Building.
A motion by James to show interest. Second by Len. All in favor? We're unanimous.
thank you, Tom, for your patience and consideration. This will follow the same process I shared with you on the Logan Health Building. Some of the steps are done. It's already been purchased. There's already been a resolution done. But we'll be back in front of you a couple times for you to share additional input and provide some guidance on how we build out that Anchor Way property. So that'll come back a couple times. We'll be back in front of you on the Logan Health Building too, because we're going to order appraisal. We'll come back into you and talk about the price. What we think is a fair offer based on appraisal value and the inspection of the property, you know, what deficiencies we find in that inspection. But we'll be back in front of you to ask for a negotiation range. So you'll have additional input into that. We'll follow up and make sure that, I know there's a T-hip balance, but I want to make sure that it is an allowable cost with those carryover funds we had. Otherwise, third party can support it. We will provide healthcare services out of that, so it fits the scope.
Tom,
Good news of not looking at it right immediately was that the real estate prices have been dropping, so the market should be shallower.
Yeah, maybe to circle back, a couple things. I'll have to give you access to this smart sheet. I'm going paperless. So I'll have to create an account for you to get access to the smart sheet and the attachments to it. So we can do that. Well, Tom, and if anybody else is interested in access smart sheets and seeing our work plans, I would hope that at the health committee meeting later this month, I can use smart sheets to roll out kind of our FY26 plan. So it'd be helpful if you had access to smart sheets anyway.
sounds like we need training.
Yeah, so should we just email you then if we're
I
interested?
would have changed the acronym to dumb sheet.
They're pretty cool. So we need to get you access to smart sheets so you can look at this work plan and the documents that we've attached to it.
Yeah, is that Smart Sheets for Idiots book available?
It's a really cool tool. My division directors are using it to create their annual work plans. So yeah,
Cool.
very cool.
What else?
That was it. I just want to I'm out of space. I've got to find a solution to get.
I think we did pretty good,
Yeah.
you not being on the agenda.
I'll stop taking up your time.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Mary Rose.
We are on the agenda.
Here's the one that got handed out. Your page numbers aren't on there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Louise, where are you going?
Yeah, Louise.
Joe?
Go ahead, Kathy. The one that says Todd, you got it.
So you're talking about buying land anywhere, whatever in town? There's that program, Friends of the Children, I think it is. And there's a building kind of from the Elks across. Anyway, and it flies a tribal flag, so I'm guessing and it has a sign in front that says the building's for sale. So I don't know if that might be pardon? I was really surprised.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Morning, Kelly. Come on up.
Isukwetnam Chesquext. Good morning. Very happy to be here, and this is a follow-up from the last time I came in a couple of weeks ago. So I'm here representing the appellate court, and we have 4 associate justices on the appellate court. So one of the requests I have is to modify their contracts for those four individuals. Daniel Tenenbaum, James Taylor, Gregory Dupuy, and Robert McDonald. And I did provide their proposal of modification to judicial contract as well as resolution for that, and I do have their signed copies if approved. And this is this is to be consistent with the budget, and I did contact Ruth Swaney, and I did get her approval that it would be consistent with the budget, and this is my proposal.
Tom,
Make the motion to modify the contracts for the four associates and related resolutions.
motion by Tom to go forward with the contract modifications. Looking for James. Second by James. All in favor? Lynn? We're unanimous.
Thank you. And then the other request is for an assistant court administrator to help Abby Dupuy, who is our court administrator for appellate court. And this, in the last 2 years, this has been one of my major goals, that we need a backup person and someone to work with Abby, you know, to be trained in that role and to know how to do it. And so this is our proposal, that we would enter into a part-time contract with J. Blue R. Lee. So I provided resolution for that, proposed resolution for that, and I do have his signed copies if approved for a contract, and I proposing to do 3 years contract, and it's everything in the contract is spelled out. And so this is my request.
Motion by Lynn to approve the assistant administrator for the appellate court contract with J. Blue Harley. Go ahead, Tom.
Kelly, so your Court of Appeals organizational chart, is that the official one, or is this a revised one that needs to be approved to reflect the appellate court assistant?
So this is what Abby and Renee worked on to create after council requested last time that the org chart be revised. And so I don't know the process of approving it, but this would be our request to approve.
How do we table a motion? We need to approve the org chart first, so we'll put Lynn's motion on pause.
Okay.
I would make the motion to approve the revised Court of Appeals organizational chart.
Motion by Tom to approve the change in the organizational chart.
Second.
Second by James. All in favor? We're unanimous. We'll go back to the previous motion by Lynn to approve the contract and resolution. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Lum Mr. Kukni, and have an excellent Indigenous Peoples Day.
You have a good weekend and good evening. Could be. You can leave those with me, Kelly. Yeah. If we have Mel available. And I don't know what time let's see what time the folks are expected. Go ahead,
I
Len.
just wanted to inform council that, I currently serve on the executive board for the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders. And so recently we made a decision to put out a press release in regards to respond to, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth's comments about the Medal of Valor Awards for the Wounded Knee Massacre. And so I felt that the Tribal Leaders Organization needed to respond to that. And so they did put together a press release that'll be going out in all the major newspapers, be going out into the New York Times or the New York Post, and some of the other major news publications. So I just wanted to inform you all. I thought it was a very powerful response. And I think it's just something that we need to stand in solidarity with our Sioux tribe, Sioux relatives. So anyway, FYI, be on the lookout for that because that's going to be coming out this week.
I know Shannon Claremont actually submitted a request to remove all of those years ago. I wonder if we still have a statement on that. That'd be interesting to add. I think there were 21 medals of honor given in that. It's crazy. I'd entertain a motion. Motion by James to accept the what do I call that? The voting
Interview.
for credit committee to appoint Susan, the credit committee. I got a motion by James and second by Jimmy. All in favor? We're unanimous. We will go out of regular back into executive. Good. Okay, go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd make the motion to accept the ballot and appoint Bob Bell for a one-year term on the SKQ meets.
A motion by Len, second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous with Carol abstaining. Anything else for the good of the day? Tom.
Well, I would just make a recommendation or make a motion to the effect that we review the SNK meet SQK meets charter or bylaws for board membership for positions for review for addition.
Motion by Tom to look at the board requirements for SQK. Give a second. Second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous. Thank you, Mill. Jay Hoy.